Roadside inspections are conducted by specially trained enforcement personnel, following specific inspection criteria and guidelines. They're working hard to ensure highways are safe for your families and for you to get the job done. On average, 100 inspections will reveal more than 20 out-of-service or OOS violations. Lights, tires, and brakes are the usual culprits, and even though some defects do pop up on the road, inspectors can often tell the difference between recent wear and practiced neglect. Get in the habit of preparing your paperwork and conducting your pre-trip, en route, and post-trip inspections with the same attention an officer will give you if you are selected for an inspection. Roadside inspections are conducted by law enforcement officers that are trained and certified by the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, or CVSA. CVSA is a nonprofit association comprised of local, state, provincial, territorial, and federal commercial motor vehicle safety officials and industry representatives. CVSA aims to achieve uniformity, compatibility, and reciprocity of commercial motor vehicle inspections and enforcement by certified inspectors dedicated to driver and vehicle safety. Typically, these inspections are conducted at weigh stations, roadside, or at a motor carrier. The selection of drivers and vehicles to be inspected, as well as the inspection procedures that must be followed, are specific and uniform across North America. In other words, a roadside inspection in Vermont should be conducted in the same way as an inspection in New Mexico. You may be selected for several reasons. The Inspection Selection System, or ISS, recommended an inspection due to your company's past performance during roadside inspections, or because there is not enough information about your carrier in the system. Inspectors spotted a violation or a defect. Inspectors noticed your vehicle is dirty, or an officer stopped you for a traffic violation and conducted an inspection. Your motor carrier may choose to use a weigh station bypass system that pre-clears vehicles on the highway, allowing the vehicles to bypass the scales. Carriers using bypass systems such as PrePass, NorPass, or DriveWise have already had their credentials, permit, and insurance information and safety status approved. Do note that even if you have one of these bypass systems installed on your vehicle can still be pulled across the scales and then inspected. Always follow instructions and pull in if you are told to do so. Also, even if your vehicle recently passed an inspection, you and your vehicle could be inspected again. There are several reasons why this could happen, including if an inspector spots a defect or the ISS recommends an inspection. Since roadside inspections can happen to anyone at any time, it's essential to be prepared. Do a thorough pre-trip inspection every time. The regulations require you to be satisfied with the condition of your vehicle before operation. A solid inspection will identify problems before your wheels start rolling. Understand what counts as deficiencies and defects, and don't start your route unless everything is in good condition. Servicing your vehicle before you're on the road will take less time and cost far less than being stopped with an out-of-service order that needs to be addressed while en route. As a professional driver, you should keep your required credentials, or CDL, with you at all times, your record of duty status current at all times, and your cab, appearance, and vehicle paperwork neat. Keep garbage and papers off the dash. Inspectors may see a messy cab and think the vehicle is poorly maintained. Don't give them any reason to switch from a simple inspection of your paperwork to a full inspection just because your cab is disorganized. The documents you may need for a roadside inspection should be readily available in the cab of your vehicle at all times. Make sure all your documents are in order before every trip and stay in order until your trips end. Keep your record of duty status current to your last change of duty to avoid a violation. This will include today's current activity and the previous 7 consecutive days, which must be in your possession and available for inspection while on duty. Drivers operating with an electronic logging device, or ELD, must be able to display or print the prior 7 days' logs and the current day as a backup. The primary means of transmission must be via telematics, using wireless web services and email, or local transfer, using Bluetooth and USB. You must know how to execute the correct method of transfer in addition to displaying or printing the logs as backups in case the transfer methods don't work. If you are using an ELD, you must have the user's manual for the ELD, an instruction sheet describing the data transfer mechanisms supported by the ELD, an instruction sheet describing what to do when an ELD malfunctions, and step-by-step instructions to produce and transfer the required hours of service records to an authorized safety official. If your vehicle is placarded for hazardous materials, you will need to have a current copy of your hazardous materials certificate of registration or another document bearing the registration number identified as the U.S. DOT Hazmat Regulation Number. The registration identifies the carrier and proves your company is authorized to transport placarded hazardous materials. Hazardous materials paperwork must be within reach from the driver's seat. When leaving your vehicle, put your paperwork either on the driver's seat or in the driver's door pouch. Lastly, plan to maintain a positive attitude and be ready to cooperate with officers. Acting courteously and professionally will help you pass the inspection and make the process go more smoothly. Roadside inspections will focus primarily on 3 separate components: the driver, the vehicle, and required documentation. If you are chosen for an inspection, the inspector will greet you by introducing himself or herself and explaining the type of inspection he or she intends on completing. Whenever you are the focus of an inspection, be prepared to hand over documents and credentials. The officer will request a current driver's license. The inspector will verify your record of duty status. He or she will review your vehicle's periodic inspection documentation as well as other paperwork related to your trip. Continue to follow the inspector's directions throughout the process. A driver can be placed out of service for some of the following reasons: hours of service violations, operating over hours, keeping a false record of duty status, having the incorrect type of record of duty status, operating without a record of duty status when required, driving while sick or fatigued, driving with an invalid license, driving while under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or not being medically qualified. Inspectors check your vehicle for mechanical problems, unsafe wear and tear, and anything else that could cause a crash. Inspectors will place a vehicle that they determine to be unsafe or in violation of safety regulations out of service. Sometimes you can fix a problem during the inspection, but it will still be recorded in the report as out of service. For problems with electrical systems, brakes, air hoses, or other major mechanical defects, you will have to contact your carrier for a service call. Refer to the CVSA North American Standard Out-of-Service Criteria for a complete listing of all out-of-service criteria. Note that Department of Transportation or DOT regulations should also be followed. One of the most common vehicle violations is the condition and operation of the braking system. Make sure your hoses are tightly connected and not rubbing or dragging. The inspector will check the trailer brakes and pad thickness, looking for cracks in the drums and making sure the whole system is ready for the road. Tires are an easy target for inspections. Your tires need to be in good condition and have the proper tread depth. The front wheels must have a tread groove pattern depth of at least 4/32 of an inch when measured at any point on a major tread groove. All other tires must have a tread groove pattern depth of at least 2/32 of an inch when measured in a major tread groove. Officers look for non-critical deficiencies also, Something as simple as a missing warning triangle, there must be 3, can result in a violation. Inspectors will look at your paperwork after the vehicle inspection. You will need to show your CDL, hours of service records, vehicle cab card, vehicle's registration, and fuel license, paper or electronic, and shipping papers or bills of lading, which show where you came from, where you're going, and what you're hauling. If you are hauling hazardous materials, the inspector will check your shipping papers for ID numbers, proper documentation of the load, and reportable quantities. Emergency responders need this important information in case of a hazardous materials incident involving your vehicle. You must give your paper or electronic record of duty status to the officer who will conduct a thorough review of your compliance with the limits and logging requirements for the current day and the previous 7 days. When using an electronic log, the officer will verify if the device is mounted properly. Also, the ELD must be capable of being reviewed by the inspector without the inspector having to enter the cab. When providing an ELD to an officer, the following items must be included in an ELD packet on board your CMV. Number 1. A user's guide for the ELD. Number 2. Data transfer instructions. 3. Reporting and record-keeping instructions in case of ELD malfunction. And 4. At least 8 days of blank driver log grids in case the history needs to be recreated. Enforcement will want to transfer the data into their software so they can analyze the data within seconds instead of reviewing logs manually. At the end of your roadside inspection, the inspector will give you a report and explain any violations or defects. You will get a report even if no problems were found. If you are not given a report, politely ask the inspector to provide you with a copy. If you do not get one, contact your supervisor or other carrier official for instructions before leaving the inspection site. You're required to turn in this report to your carrier when you get to the next terminal or facility. If you are not going to be at your carrier's facility within the next 24 hours, you will need to send it to them by mail or other means. Fax, scan, and email, etc. Your carrier needs to address any problems with your vehicle and return the form to the issuing agency, using the address on the form, within 15 days. The inspector will put a CVSA decal on your vehicle as long as there are no critical inspection item defects noted. Critical inspection items are the safety-related items that are likely to cause a crash or breakdown if not corrected in a timely manner, including anything related to the tires, brakes, lights, coupling devices, cargo securement, frames, drive shafts, wheel assemblies, suspensions, wipers, steering, and fuel system. The decal will be valid for 3 months. The inspector will put the decal in one of the following places. On a power unit, the inspector will place it on the lower right corner of the outside of the passenger's windshield. On trailers, the inspector will place it on the lower right corner near the front. On cargo tanks, the inspector will place it on the right side of the undercarriage near the front of the cargo tank or eye level on the right side near the front of the cargo tank. And on passenger buses, the inspector will place it on the window of the passenger door at the inspector's eye level. If the inspector found minor violations, you may be allowed to continue. However, a fine may be written. You will not, however, receive a CVSA decal. Keep in mind, any violations you receive still have serious consequences. Certain types of violations have high severity points in the Compliance, Safety, Accountability, or CSA program, and will have an immediate impact on you and the carrier. If an inspector finds major safety problems, you or the vehicle will be placed out of service. This means that you won't be able to drive your vehicle again until the problems have been addressed. Inspectors can place you, your vehicle, or both out of service. Violating an out-of-service order carries stiff penalties. Federal regulations outline a penalty structure for drivers. However, it's a judge's discretion to decide the actual disqualification period and fine amount. The penalty schedule is as follows. First violation, disqualification for 180 days to 1 year. Second violation during a 10-year period, disqualification for 2 to 5 years. And third or subsequent violation during a 10-year period, disqualification for 3 to 5 years. Penalties are more severe for violating an out-of-service order while transporting hazardous materials. Your carrier cannot force you to drive a vehicle before the repairs are finished. They will be fined if they require or allow you to violate an out-of-service order. If you feel your rights were violated during a roadside inspection, call your carrier and ask them to file a formal complaint through the agency the officer works for. If you disagree with how the officer conducted the inspection or with the results, avoid arguing with the inspector. Instead, discuss it with your carrier and allow them to resolve the issue with a supervisor at the agency that conducted the inspection. If a resolution can't be reached, you must use the data queues system to file a request for data review, or RDR, regarding a roadside inspection. To help speed up the review process, document why you thought there was no violation or why you believe the officer made an error and provide this to be included with the challenge. Your carrier's representative will log into the data queues site to enter an RDR, refer to the inspection event, and choose one of the following. Incorrect violation, assigned to wrong carrier, assigned to wrong driver, missing record, duplicate record, or incorrect information. You should now be able to demonstrate how to prepare for a roadside inspection, recognize what happens during a roadside inspection, and explain what to expect as the result of a roadside inspection. Now it's time to take the course exam. This exam includes 10 questions. Be aware, if you close the exam before finishing, your answers will not be saved. You may take this exam more than once. Your highest score will be reported. To begin the course exam, select Next.